What is up, guys? Today we'll be talking about the top 5 best rugged smartphones. So let's go ahead and get started. First off is the Samsung Galaxy X Cover Pro. So this guy comes in at around 500 bucks. I will put the links down below. So this is a very nice, high quality rugged smartphone from Samsung. You do have a very durable design on here. It's IP68 dust and water resistant. Now this has been rated for a military grade phone. So this is just going to be awesome. It's not going to be a phone that you can really break easily. And what I like about this phone is you have estimated 14 hours of screen on time, but you can also replace the battery on here. So if you're out, you just swap out the battery and you're good to go. This phone also has enhanced capabilities, so you can keep your gloves on and use this phone even in wet conditions, which is really nice. So you do have a pretty decently sized IPS display on here. It is a 6.3-inch display, 1080p, 409 for the PPI. It is an IPS display, so it's not the AMOLED that we all know and love from Samsung, but it'll definitely get the job done. You have Android 10 with One UI 2.0. You also have the Exynos 9611 and Mali G72. So this is not going to be a super powerhouse smartphone. It's sort of like a kind of like a mid-tier chip on here. So if you do want to do a little bit of gaming on here, you can definitely do a little bit of casual gaming, but you won't be maxing stuff out. You also have micro SD support, 64 gigs of storage and 4 gigs of RAM. You also have a 3.5mm jack. NFC is on board as well, and the fingerprint scanner is side mounted, which is something that I really like on these phones. From what I've seen, the cameras are pretty decent. You have a 25 megapixel wide and an 8 megapixel ultra wide, shoots in 1080p video, 13 megapixel selfie, also 1080p, and the cameras are fine, definitely in good lighting. Samsung has some pretty good image processing. You get a lot of punchy colors with this camera. So you also have a 4050 milliamp battery with 15-watt fast charging. So overall, this is a super solid pick. Next is the Blackview 9900 Pro. So this is kind of like the big boy. It is kind of I guess on the luxury side of these rugged phones, which you don't really see a lot, so they can really hike the price up on these phones. But this one does have some pretty good specs. Of course, it's IP68 dust and water resistant. It could withstand up to 5 feet for 30 minutes, which is pretty nice, and it's actually got an IP69K certification as well. You do have protection up to 30 degrees Celsius on here, which is really nice, and you have a pretty decently sized screen. It's a 5.84 inch, so a little bit on the compact size. It is a 1080p display. From what I'm seeing, it looks pretty fine. You have the little water drop notch. A design on here I really like. It's kind of a minimal design, but definitely pretty interesting. You do have a massive battery on here, a 4380 milliamp battery with 18-watt fast charging. You do have wireless charging as well, which is very nice, and this phone also comes with NFC as well. So this is a little bit more powerful than the Samsung one. You have the Helio P90 in the 8 gigs of RAM plus 128 gigs of storage, as well as expandable storage. So if you actually want to do some gaming on here, you can actually do some pretty nice gaming on here, some pretty high-end gaming. So if you want to play Call of Duty, Fortnite, PUBG on your phone as well, you can definitely do that on this phone. Now, from what I'm seeing, these cameras are okay. You have a 48 megapixel and a 16 megapixel camera on here. You have 4K. So from what I'm seeing, the cameras on here are pretty solid. Definitely, if you're in some good lighting, you can get a pretty good photo. You also have a thermal sensor on here, which is really nice, so you can measure and see the heat, which is pretty cool. So overall, this phone is very solid. There's also this really cool underwater mode, which I really like. So overall, this is a super solid phone. Again, very expensive though. Next is the Unihertz Atom. So this is a really cool one because I just love how small this is. So I feel like if you're out, outdoors, then I feel like you might want a smaller phone, because this is definitely a phone that I would pick just so you're not really distracted by social media and viewing content. This is really just for doing all of your basic stuff. Now you can do that on this phone, but the screen is so small you really might not I feel motivated to. But this is a really cool phone coming in at around 230 bucks. It does have a really nice rugged design, and like I said, it's very small. It's about the size of a credit card. So you do have IP68 dust and water resistant on here, which is very nice. It's a 2.45 inch display. You also have Android 9 on here with 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage on here as well. You do have a fingerprint scanner mounted on the side along with NFC. You have a pretty good, respectable octa-core processor. Again, you're not going to be doing a ton of stuff on this phone. And you also have a pretty nice size 2000 milliamp battery for this size of a phone. So you definitely will get some very good battery life on here. So this phone does have a programmable key, which is pretty cool. So you can pretty much set any application to the red button, which I really like. So again, this is one of those phones that you want to use. You know, you want to have a smartphone just in case you really need to get on something, but definitely to enjoy the outdoors, you want a little small phone that's not going to do a whole bunch. Now, checking out a cheaper option from Eulophone is the Ufo Armor X7 Pro. So this is a really nice one. This one has Android 10, which is very nice because you don't see most of these rugged phones with the latest version of Android, except for the Samsung one that we saw. And I really like this one. It does not have the flashiest design on here. It does look nice. It does have the rugged design, but it's not the best looking one. But it does have some pretty good specs for this price point at around 118 bucks right now. If you pick it up right now, it's usually 150. So you do have a MediaTek processor. It's a quad-core processor on here. You also have 4 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of storage. You have a pretty compact 5-inch display. So if you like compact phones, this definitely does have that. You have the fingerprint scanner on the back as well as face unlock. This phone also is IP68 and IP69K certified, which is very nice. You also have dual SIM capabilities on here as well. Like I said, Android 10 is going to run like a breeze on here. You also have NFC for your mobile payments. So I think for the price that they're asking for, I think this is a super solid phone. You also have a 4000 milliamp battery, which is huge for this screen size. So this definitely will last you a very long time. This phone also has a glove mode, so if you need to use this phone with a glove, then you can do that. So I just really like this phone. Definitely for the price point, it's just really nice. Last on the list is my favorite, the Ufo Armor 7. So this is a really nice one coming in at 500 bucks, but I like this one because of the design. I think it's the best looking on here. Just looks really great, and it has some pretty good specs as well at this price point. Now this one does come with Android 10, which is something that again I love, and again this design is just awesome. It's IP68 and IP69K certified on here, which is really nice. So you have a 6.3 inch water drop screen on here. It's full 1080p, and my favorite thing about this phone is the battery size. So you have a 5500 milliamp battery with wireless charging, and it's just huge. It's the biggest battery on here. So this is a phone that is going to have a ton of juice, which is something that I absolutely love. For the processor, you have the Helio P90, 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. So if you're trying to do a little gaming on here, you can definitely do some high-end gaming on here, no problem. It should blow through it. Now, of course, this phone has NFC. You also have the heart rate sensor on here as well. And this phone also has a triple camera setup, which is pretty respectable from what I've seen. You can get some pretty decent shots out of this guy if you're in some good lighting. Again, these phones aren't going to be, all of these phones on this list aren't going to be great camera phones, so just do know that that's not really the purpose of them. But this is still a super solid phone here. So again, my favorite option. This phone really has everything that you would want, definitely for this price point. So let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys in the next one.